All right, this is fascinating. I want to show you comedian Theo Vaughn having a good time with Democratic Representative Rho Khanna, and by the end of this short clip, Rho Khanna wins Theo over on a few key issues. Now, Theo Vaughn is one of the largest comedians out there. He's not some MAGA dude. He just happens to have JD Vance and like Trump on his podcast and doesn't know how to push back properly. But when he's sitting there across from a Democrat, they get along just as well. And I've been talking about the importance of Democrats getting in these spaces and just having conversations like your bros, or even going on the Alex Cooper podcast. It doesn't have to just be between bros, but getting out there in these cultural places to have our voices heard and just loosening up a bit. Don't be so finger waggy. And you see the results in real time. And the reality of it is, a lot of people like Theo Vaughn are winnable. I'll even go as far as saying that Joe Rogan is still somebody who's winnable. Let me show you all this clip first of Joe Rogan in 2017 talking about immigration. You guys will all find what he says very agreeable and solid. Just listen to this clip, and it shows how winnable people are.
I see a lot of people online talking about this immigrant issue, and they either don't have kids or they don't think it could happen to their kids. Their idea is, hey, shouldn't have fucking come over here. You get those kind of people. Broke the law. Shouldn't have fucking come over here if your kid, you didn't want to get your kid separated. If you were in the presence of a woman who came over here from Guatemala and she's poor and she's starving and they're taking her baby away and she's wailing and screaming from a primal place in her DNA that the one thing she loves more than anything is being taken away. A baby.
Yeah.
If that doesn't freak you the fuck out, you're not a part of the team, man. You're missing it. You're missing it. What are we here for? We're here for 100 years of whatever. That's what we're here for. If you want to spend 100 years saying, hey, she shouldn't have fucking broke the law, I don't want you on the team. You're an asshole, right? And I don't give a fuck if you're right or left. I don't care if you're religious, or I don't care if you're an atheist. If that's what you support, you're an asshole.
I mean, Joe Rogan from 2017 is correct. And unfortunately, his brain has been rotted by whatever conspiracy theory algorithm he's on. But the hippie Joe Rogan that's saying this stuff, I find this convincing. I find this, not to be corny, I find this more alpha than whatever MAGA bullshit is out there today, whatever Andrew Tate is saying. This is a dude like saying, we're here for 100 years. Why are we tearing families apart?
And we don't want you on our team. I don't give a fuck if they broke the law. You don't take parents and kids and separate them. You just fucking don't. It's disgusting. If you're saying, well, they shouldn't have broke the law. Maybe they shouldn't have broke the law. You don't get to do something that's 1,000 times worse than crossing a line in the dirt.
It is really unfortunate to see how Joe Rogan has fallen in these conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and a lot of it is due to the algorithms online, due to the people that he interacts with, due to him being in this bubble in Texas. But I do want to say, part of it is also on the Democratic Party and their communication tactics. We can't completely remove the onus from Democrats. There was a gap for a while. There was a vacuum in the communication in the Democratic Party, even in a top-down way. President Joe Biden was an amazingly effective president, but there are times when he wasn't the best communicator on his own behalf, like he wasn't able to sell his own policy. This is just objective. And the thing is, I think a lot of Democrats also struggle to be in the right spots. That's why I really wanted to show you this clip of Democratic Representative Rho Khanna. Make sure you drop a like, and make sure that you're subscribed to the Mockler channel, because this is how we push back against the MAGA media ecosystem. Really quickly, I have this theory that there's two pieces. There's the pipeline, then there's the volume. What happens with the pipeline is that any like teenage dude, for example, is going to look up dating advice in their life. After looking up dating advice, a lot of teenage dudes will get sucked down to this Andrew Tate red pill rabbit hole, and that it's like MAGA sort of. Okay, what if you're just working out? You're a 22-year-old and you want to work out a bunch. I'm scrolling through Instagram Reels and I'm watching workout videos, and then I see RFK Jr. telling me how to eat. Then that's basically MAGA. You're sucked down to the MAGA pipeline. And there's a pipeline that exists everywhere, even with young mothers. Like the new mother to anti-vaccine pipeline is very, very common nowadays. And once you're down that pipeline, they hit you with volume after volume after volume, and they just carpet bomb your feed with disinformation, and you don't know what to believe. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of people, maybe even Joe Rogan. But let's watch this clip of Rho Khanna breaking through that pipeline, creating our own pipeline. If you want to help create a pipeline, drop a like and subscribe below.
But I do know some things. I know this, that I'll say this. This is in that big, beautiful bill. And I don't know everything that's in it, but this is one thing that really stood out to me. And I asked JD about this. It says for a full 10 years after enactment, no U.S. state or locality may enforce any law or regulation that limits, restricts, or otherwise regulates artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems entered into interstate commerce. Only laws encouraging use or deployment of AI are excluded. That means that you won't have any legal recourse against a machine.
Yeah, basically, like you know how you said you want hands on a wheel?
Yeah.
If now a state wants to pass a law saying you got to have a truck driver on a truck, you can't do that. If your state wants to pass a law saying you can't have an algorithm in social media that gets young girls addicted to content that makes them more likely to have eating disorders, can't do that.
So it's just going to be federal will have the only...
Federal will be the only one. And you know what's...
Guy, do you not see how crazy... Do you not see what is at the gates?
And by the way, you're not going to get federal legislation because the way you get federal legislation in this country is when you get a bunch of states that pass legislation, then you get the industry coming to the federal government saying, oh, there are too many state laws. Can you just get one federal standard? But if you don't have the state laws, you're never going to have industry coming saying, let's get a federal standard. So it's basically like, let's have AI just develop. And that is the problem, right? There's the beautiful AI vision of how your nephews could learn this and build wealth, and we could have some people in one generation have economic security. And then there's the dystopian AI vision where big government and big companies control our data, are making decisions based on what predictive algorithms are telling about us, where we lose control to machines. And the question is, which way are we going to go as a society? And who's going to benefit? Is the AI revolution going to be like globalization? All the money piles up in my district. You know, we'll be sitting here 5 years from now, instead of $14 trillion, it'll be $50 trillion. And places like Louisiana will still be shafted. Or is the AI revolution going to be owned by American citizens? Like, to me, that is the whole biggest question of our society right now. Like
I agree.
I mean, just imagine for a second. Imagine if Rho Khanna didn't go in this space and instead Theo Von decides to invite on like Speaker Mike Johnson or, you know, Mike Lee or some disgusting person. And they come on the podcast and they immediately start to run defense for the bill and they skirt around that one issue. Then the millions and millions of young men, of young women, of people, not even young people, the people who listen to Theo Von's podcast then don't even know about this provision. They don't even know. It's the importance of getting in these spaces. And there have been times when I see people, not even as much in this audience, but in other audiences, sometimes in my comment section, trying to purity test. Like, I'm sure maybe I'll see it in this comment section. They'll say, Adam, why do we even care what Joe Rogan or what Theo Von thinks? Why do we even want to platform these people? And it's not about platforming them. They have huge platforms themselves. It's about pushing back on them. Do you guys remember this video of Pete Buttigieg on Flagrant? It's a beautiful one that got millions and millions of views.
Goes into or is supposed to go into here in the US is what then turns around and makes it possible for businesses to thrive.
Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, my favorite example is probably the smartphone. So have you ever noticed like in like talks or like whenever somebody mentions a smartphone, they like start to pull it out of their pocket or like, touch it. But so the federal government could not have invented the iPhone, right? Like, I don't think any of us would want a phone that was like invented by the federal government.
That thing would suck.
That is like all of the design, the manufacturing supply chains. That's the kind of thing that corporations can do very well.
Yeah.
And Apple did it very well and their competitors. But what makes the iPhone work? Well, among other things, the internet. The internet was literally invented by a federal research project. And it would never have been possible to invent the internet with a private company because you wouldn't have got the kind of capital return, even though it's $1 trillion idea or a multi-trillion dollar idea. You know, companies can do multi-billion dollar ideas, but $1 trillion idea, like inventing the internet, that requires basic research. And that's the kind of thing the government's supposed to do, among many other things.
It requires basic research? What is that?
Yeah, by basic research, I mean things that are so fundamental that you actually don't know for 50 or 100 years if they're going to have a return. They might never work out.
Oh,
right?
yeah. You can't look at it as this thing is going to be profitable. It has to be
so it's different
benevolent
from
endeavor for society.
Yeah, it's different from research on like a pharmaceutical company researches a new medication, expecting that there's going to
be a return in the next 10, 20 years.
Right, at least kind of
millions and millions and millions of views on this podcast and these clips and this is messaging. This is democratic messaging. Also, just reality. He's just talking about basic research, basic science, and I love it. And this is one of my goals for the next, 18 months until the midterm, something of the sort. I want to continue to relentlessly be out in these spaces, go on podcasts, make sure our message is heard. Something that I like doing is going into, Trump rally spaces or Piers Morgan or Newsmax spaces. I like doing these debates. So I'm going to try to double down on that and make sure that our voice is heard, make sure that we're pushing back. If you want to be along for the ride, drop a like, subscribe below. I love you all. We're building something amazing here. See you. Peace out.